Yeah,
Go
2 seconds. Oh, no, good. You're good.
What's going on, my man? The rankings are out. Post Power Slap number 7. We get the rankings. Lots to break down each division. We've seen the strikers letting us know on social what they think about it, my man. Jeeves, it's been a little bit since you've been here. Tell the fans what you've been up to, man.
I've just been busy with regular life, man. Still, we keep in touch, like in our Slap News group group chat. But just been busy, like getting like stuff in real life done. You know what I mean? I'd love to stay in the slap verse as long as I can, but real life sometimes gets in the way, man.
The slap verse. So we've got Jeeves. We've got Jeeves in the slap verse. Apparently has a life outside of this. I wonder
idiot,
what that's
right?
all
what
about.
Am I doing?
And then we got Mr. Metaverse here as well.
Hey.
What's up, Ding?
FKA, man. FKA. All right. I'm in the real world again.
On to bigger, better things.
Yeah.
No,
But we're always in some sort of verse. You know what I mean? Main event verse, slap verse, fucking slap news verse, Jeeves' head verse.
Yeah. Occupying many spaces as we see. But let's talk about it. Let's get into it. We've got the new rankings out. Post Power Slap number 7. It's funny. Every time we think we know what's going to take place, we talk about it on our Tuesday live show. And then all of a sudden, it seems like we know absolutely nothing.
It's like they're doing it in spite of us.
Yeah, they definitely don't take our advice. That's for sure. So let's get into it. Ding, let's start off with you, my man. Let's go. Let's start out in the welterweight division. Emmanuel Muniz, still the champion in that division. Obviously, nothing changed, Ding. But Jewel Scott moving up 1 by sitting idle. What do you think of that?
This is interesting. Normally, when you don't compete, you would stay in the same spot. And so this tells me they put a lot of value on Jewel, because I've been saying all week, on social, in our smack talk earlier this week, that Anthony Blackburn is presumably the number 1 contender. But today they come out with rankings that say something different. So I think this shows that they hold Jewel in high regard, and either one or two things happens next. You either have a Jewel versus Emmanuel for the championship, or you have another contender fight to determine who's really the number 1 contender. But interesting to see somebody move up without any activity. That usually does not happen.
I mean, we see Blackburn coming in at number 2, just behind Jewel Scott. So how much do we think that decision making is, the experience that has gone into it, the repertoire that Jewel has built? Is that a sign that they think Blackburn maybe isn't, I don't want to say not deserving, but they're not moving him up right to number 1 as quickly as, you and I thought, Ding. But Jeeves, let's think about it, because they moved Blackburn up. Yeah. They dropped KO Chris down to 3. So not that big of a drop, losing to 6. What's your thoughts of Jewel 1, Blackburn 2, Thomas 3?
Well, first of all, shout out Blackburn. He moved up 4 spots, right? And he just won a match against the longest reigning welterweight champion we've ever had, and one of the most dominant, KO Chris. He got that name for a reason. Now, this positioning with Jewel and Anthony, this one's interesting, because Jewel's sitting with a record of 4-2-0, and Anthony's got a record of 4-0-1. So you brought up experience.
One match, man. It's just one match different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? So, but Anthony just beat KO Chris. I thought that would, like you guys thought during Smack Talk, I thought that would have meant a lot more. Whereas Jewel, he did have that 2-win streak, but he sat idle now. So this is
got knocked out. He got knocked, like his loss. First of all, he has losses. Second of all, one of his losses was like terrible. He lost in a really dominant fashion. I don't know. I'm very surprised by this.
Yeah, fact.
What does that really mean? Because obviously the original announcement was Jewel Scott versus KO Chris. When they launched the Power Slap 7, actual fight, then very quickly, about an hour after it was released, that was taken off. Blackburn has been inserted. So very, very interesting to kind of see that. I think a lot of ways, as we go through each of these divisions, it might be a sign that we are going to get a lot more contender fights on Power Slap number 8 than we thought. I think that's kind of looking at here. Like I could very well see Anthony Blackburn, Jewel Scott before we see Manny.
Yes.
You know, the other guys that kind of sat idle, you know, when we look at, you know, 4 through 6, you know, obviously they all dropped down 1 with Blackburn leapfrogging them. You know, anybody in that kind of mix that you think, either you guys, doesn't matter which one you want to take, could be a good match that we'd like to see here in the welterweight division, you know, Thomas, Provost, Frost, Young, like which of those 4 guys do you think would make an intriguing matchup here in this division?
I think that 5 to 8 standing right there that you just showed, Wayland, Cole, Zach Zane, Chris Debo, I think those would make for some exciting matches and move this ladder around a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm saying pick 2, buddy.
Pick 2. Okay, out of those 4,
I'm saying who makes a good match.
I think Andrew Provost and Chris Debo would be a good match. It would help one of these guys come up into the rankings and maybe be more competitive.
Ding, what do you think?
Wait, hold on. Why that big of a jump? Why 8 versus 3? Or I'm sorry, I guess now it's 8 versus 4. Excuse me.
4, excuse me. Yeah, I think they both sat idle for a bit, and they both put on good matches. I think that would be a great matchup in that division, those 2 to go at it. And then Cole and Zach, I know the fans would love to see that. That's why I'm floating in that 5 to 8 there. Sorry, boys.
No, you're good, brother. I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I actually want to see Cole Blackburn too.
Ooh.
I want to see Cole Blackburn again. They ended in a draw. I think we figure out who's better, and we get more clarity in the welterweight division past, you know, whatever the next championship fight is. Let Jewel fight Manny if you're gonna put him at number 1. He moved up. I mean, he's probably one of the only people ever on the planet to go up in rank without fighting.
Yeah.
Like that's impressive.
Yeah, I hear you guys. Let's move on to the middleweight division. I mean, John Davis, you know, the title holder there, gets spoken about a number of times. You know, I'm sure in this chat right now, I can't see it, but I'm sure I know you guys are monitoring it. I'm sure it's going to be a hot topic for debate because John Davis continually, you know, sitting idle here while there's somebody coming in, presumably trying to get, you know, an opportunity. What do we think this actually means? Azael Rodriguez comes off a disqualification loss against Static, retains that number 1 spot. Really no other movement except for the insertion of AJ Static Hints at number 3.
Yeah, this is a very interesting division. This might be one of the divisions where they're going to have 4 and under, and now with AJ in there, figure it out, because under AJ, well, I guess AJ's got no record right now, but under that, the records are kind of, these guys don't have as many matches as some of the top 3 and the number 1 contender do. So I think we got to start moving this division, see some matches in this division, like with the lower rankings, and there's good guys here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think overall, and we're seeing a trend that a disqualification loss doesn't necessarily mean that you're moving in rankings now, which I think is quite interesting. So we've seen that happen. You know, I don't think we ended up with much more clarity. You know, we talked about, do we want to see Azael Rodriguez versus John Davis, you know, happen again? We don't really have that. Obviously, you know, Ding's a big proponent that you can't come off a loss and get a shot at a title. So I'm not sure that we have too much clarity here based off the rankings that we see in front of us. We know Brandon Bordeaux, very, very vocal, wants an opportunity to fight up in those rankings. You know, and it's unfortunate because Road to the Title 2, we didn't get a clear winner coming out of this between, you know, Garrett Grimes, Bordeaux, Brahima, you know, even Merlis, you know, for that matter. But I know, Jeeves, you talked about somebody who's void of these rankings.
Yeah.
Who is that and why?
There's omission here, and there's someone on here that I don't know if would be on here if that omission was fulfilled, and that's Isaiah. Let's not forget, he also came down to middleweight. He would be sitting there with an NR, and he won his match outright. So it's interesting that he's not on these rankings, and he's not on the other rankings either. We'll see in a little bit. But would Ryan Wallace be there if Isaiah wasn't rightfully in his position here?
Yeah, I mean, based off the rankings, I'd say no. But we also haven't seen. It's interesting to see Travis Aragon still holding down the spot.
And
number
Merlis.
7. We haven't. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Travis Aragon in a little bit. I haven't even seen him active on social, so I'm not sure where he's at, how actively involved he is in communication with the brass of Power Slap. So very interesting to see. I almost think this division here has quite a wide range of individuals in it now. So I think it's quite interesting to kind of see the diversity that's kind of developed out here. But obviously we still don't have a clear-cut contender at this particular moment. And that's not dogging anybody. I just think that, 1 through 4, 1 through 5 still got to dogfight it out so that we get a clear-cut way. But like I said, once again, kind of cementing it that we may not see as many title fights at Power Slap number 8 as we thought. Let's keep on moving.
That one. Sorry to cut you off, Corey, but that one that just got put up with Slap Daddy, Bordeaux versus Hintz. God damn, can you imagine the animosity and fireworks if those two were to go at it? They both love to talk, so that would be nutty.
Yeah. All right, Ding. You take it away, man. Light heavyweight rankings.
I can't say that I'm surprised by this one. I actually think this one makes a little bit more sense. What's interesting is that TJ went up 3 spots, and he won by DQ at 6, and then moves up a lot at 7 and didn't compete. I mean, that's interesting, and also that Blakesley's still way higher than him and also moved up. Klingbeil makes sense. Russell makes sense. This is interesting. I'm confused by TJ a lot. I mean, he moved up quite a few spots. I know you need Ronald in there because of his performance against William Woods, but it's interesting that TJ and Garrett both moved up, no activity, and TJ is so low in comparison. This one's interesting, but I mean, everybody else I think makes sense. Obviously, you can't change anything with Turpin. You can't add him to the heavyweight rankings because you didn't fight a heavyweight. So I understand all of those things.
Yeah. Do you think we could see something that we see in MMA here? Like, could we see a Russell Wolverine? And would that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I actually wanted to talk about that earlier for a second when we talked about Blackburn being the number 2. Just because you're not number 1 doesn't necessarily mean you can't get a title shot. I think sometimes in MMA you see guys who are number 6 get title shots. Like, it really depends on how it has the champion fought the people who are in between. Because it doesn't always add up, right? Like, if AJ beats Azael and then Azael beats John, that doesn't mean that AJ can beat John automatically. It just it doesn't work that way. Like, everybody's got to fight each other in their to figure out who's actually better. So it is very possible that you see somebody who's not technically number 1 get given a title shot. And if we saw that welterweight, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But again, I'm a bit puzzled by light heavyweight. I'm also puzzled at why AJ needed to debut at number 3 in middleweight when, I mean, he sure, did he win? Yeah, but I mean, what kind of win was it? Like, for him to debut all the way ahead, I get it. The guy's got accomplished a lot light heavy. Why not keep him in those rankings for a little bit longer? Figure out what's next for him, and then when he really has a great performance, you can skyrocket him to wherever he deserves to be. But maybe toss him in the rankings because he competed. But number 3, I mean, I think that's a big jump for a DQ win.
Yeah. I hear you. It's funny. Actually, first time I've ever seen it, but I've seen the Pereira versus Strickland highlights from when they fought. And Ding, I'm sure you know when that took place. But kind of interesting to see the realm in that and seeing how those guys have kind of gone on in their career trajectories. But overall, the light heavyweight division, we've heard from Dana that Wolverine and Turpin are going to run it back. Power Slap number 8. So I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised there. Otherwise, Garrett Blakesley is still going to be on the shelf. We're seeing the update of his photos. It looks like his recovery is going well, but his middle finger is definitely, fully reconstructed. So it's going to take a bit of time. But Alan Klingbeil, I think, did himself, some of the probably the best that he could coming in, short notice, taking on Colton Cole, taking care of business, making himself relevant. Would love to see him in Delvin Helmlet. I know Delvin was, was off and has it moved? But I still think Allen and Delvin would be a phenomenal matchup. I think would bring the light heavyweight division, kind of even more attention. I've always said that it's a good mix of power and speed, the light heavyweight division. And I think overall we could see a matchup here, potentially a power slap number 8. But geez, we're gonna go over to you. Let's talk about the heavyweight division. Not too much at the top really happening. The King of Kings, we see him back on social. The King has risen once again, and he still retains that number 1 contender spot.
Yeah, so not a lot of moves here. So obviously, Damien DeBell, the unringable bell, it seems, has retained his title at Power Slap 7. And then we got Ryan, like you said, Corey, retaining his contender spot. And then some big names in the 3 here, like Dwayne, we have Nate, and then Dorian. Now, this division makes me wonder, boys, and I want to have an open conversation with you guys. How much do records matter with these rankings? Because this one really, really confused me, okay? So let me give you my piece. Ryan's coming off a loss. He had his contender match. He had his title match, and he's sitting at a record of 2-2-0, okay? Then we have Dwayne, who's also had a title match and lost his match, but he has a record of 5-2-0. And I believe a guy like Dwayne's never fouled in this league. So there's that one. And then Nate's sitting under that with 2-2-0. And then Dorian sitting right under that with 5-1-0. Maybe I'm naive, and I'd love to hear more from Ding because you've been following combat sports for a long, long time. Does this happen where the record, like, this is my question, like, how much does the records matter?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's not. It doesn't. When it comes to figuring out where guys rank up, it's about the caliber of talent that they beat at the time that they were on their path to contention. You could be 10-10-0, and if the 11th win that you get is number 1 in the world, you just became number 1 in the world. That's always how it makes the most sense. I would like to highlight, I think DTP, I don't think his are updated. I think he lost more than once. I'm pretty sure he's lost at least twice. Okay. And I think both times it was by disqualification. If I'm not mistaken, he lost his last one, which I misspoke earlier this week on Smack Talk, and everyone so politely let me know about it. Mm-hmm. He lost that one, and then if I'm not mistaken, he lost to, was it Crespo? Did he lose? He lost to Crespo. His face looked atrocious. I remember in the 3-rounder. So I'm almost positive he lost to Crespo. So, I mean, with that being said, he has more experience, but if you're beating numbers 8, 9, and 10, then those 3 matches go on your record as wins, but they're not meaningful enough to get you to a championship is really where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Mm. But one of the interesting things is it's kind of a weird mix because, I mean, if we look at this, like, obviously Ryan was injured, but Dwayne beat Ryan. Mm-hmm. We're going to look at Nate.
He's beat everyone.
Beating Crespo.
Nate beat Crespo, yep.
Yeah, we've got Ellis beating Perez.
But you see how that works? So Nate beat Crespo but lost to Phillips, right? And Crespo's still ahead of Nate. So it doesn't really it doesn't work that way. Like it doesn't necessarily matter that you have a mutual competitor and one of them lost. That doesn't mean that automatically the other one's whoever the next person is gonna lose. So I think ranking, as far as rankings go, rankings and records are separate because again, you're gonna have guys who are gonna have awful records that are gonna start to win. Like from MMA, you'll take a Charles Oliveira who was gonna get cut from the UFC and then becomes this champion, this dominant guy that beats all the numbers 1 through 5, and then he meets a guy named Islam Makhachev, right? It just depends on who are you beating when it comes to that record.
Definitely the relevancy. I mean, relevancy and timeness. How new is it? I mean, once we get down, I mean, we're seeing guys with records in MMA, obviously, 20 wins and 4 losses. Like, they're getting, in the high digits of teens, 20, 30 fights under their belts. I mean, we're talking guys that have such small resumes, 2-2-1, 5 fights, you know what I mean? 5-1, even 6 fights. So, there's definitely that kind of discrepancy. I think some of the newer guys in the bottom, obviously with Cooper Housley with a, performance of the night bonus, moving up ranking, James Stonier staying still, unfortunately wasn't able to see his talent on display. Darius bumping down a little bit. We talked on Smack Talk. We've seen Darius, hitting the power cube recently, so he's still around. And then Stevie Payne holding down that number 10, spot still. So we got one more division. We've got the super heavyweight division. Not a lot to report on here. Why do we think that is?
I think they're shaping up for a brothers match, like to keep it the way it is. I think we're shaping up to see these guys go at it. And circling back on the other division, I think we might see a run back of the contender and champion like Ryan and Bell. And then here we might see it. I think that's what it's shaping up for. Not a lot of competition here, like not a lot of guys in this division competing as regularly as some of the other divisions. So maybe that could be it.
But what do we say? But what does it say about Evian Scott?
Yeah, there was no value placed on that match at all, which is interesting. Like it's almost as if it was meaningless, because the person who lost didn't lose any. He didn't lose anything other than his win money, and the person who won didn't gain anything other than his win money. So this is very interesting. This doesn't follow the same precedent as AJ Azael, because Azael didn't move, but AJ did. Quite a bit, might I add. So this is interesting. The other thing I want to say, boys, is I didn't say this before because I was a proponent of it, but as one we've talked to Dane quite a few times. Corey, you did an interview with him pre-fight where he talked about, he really doesn't want to hit his brother. And the more I think about it, I personally don't have a brother, but the more I think about it, like, even if you look at Crazy Hawaiian versus Micah, like them being kind of homies, I don't think that match gives us what we want. I don't think these guys will try to take each other's head off. They're brothers. They're family. They don't want to hurt each other. Long term, they don't want to risk it. I don't think this is a good match at all, actually. And I think if Power Slap was adamantly against it before, they should still be adamantly against it. And I actually would join that and say I'm adamantly against it as well. I don't think this gives the fans anything close to what they want. I see Pitbull's in the chat. Shout out to him at 12:30 or so in the morning in South African time. And he's saying he wants to fight Kalani or the Hawaiian Hitman. Get this man a fight. Let's see if he can become an additional South African champion. But he's got to get there first. Obviously, last performance wasn't what we wanted to see, but I think that this is the best thing to do is make Dane defend that spot.
Yeah,
I like that.
Ding, I know you got to run, my man. Appreciate you joining us. Jeeves and myself are going to pull it in. We're going to keep on going. We got some of the reactions from the fighters. I think that's going to be one of the more entertaining parts of the show.
Too bad Ding had to leave now.
Yeah, I know. It's all good. He's got family obligations and stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure it happens. But I mean, that super heavyweight division definitely, needs somebody to step up to challenge Crazy Hawaiian. I mean, right now, he seems to be miles ahead of everybody else. And, we need another great, I'll say American hero, a world hero. We need another Superman to step up to challenge the Crazy Hawaiian. Yeah. A guy like Danny Van Heerden definitely has some of that potential. Obviously, we didn't see it because of disqualification against Makini Manu. But, we haven't heard from Kalani. We know he's selling his gym that he has on the island. Not sure what that means. Hopefully, he's upgrading his training stuff. But we need something to happen there. We talked about all those divisions. I mean, we seem to have more clutter than anything. I think the light heavyweight division is the only one that clearly has a title shot coming up. Power Slap number 8. But once again, it proves you, as always, we don't know nothing. I'm sure it'll come out and there'll be 4 or 5 title matches, and they'll prove us all wrong. So let's get into it, though, my man. We got a lot. I mean, a lot of strikers have been talking.
This really stirred the pot for sure.
100%. And you know what? I do appreciate right off the bat, Nate Bernard, one of the more level-headed guys, every one of them can get to work. That's not an insult. It's just a fact of life.
So, I love it, man. And let's be real. Nate's been working, man. If anybody follows him on social at Nate_Bernard, that boy's been working. And I know it's bothered him probably the way the last couple matches went. So I like that. Nate's staying in the lab. He's ready for whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a minute since we've seen him. Back to Durango at number 6. So wouldn't be too surprised if we see him here in the very near future.
Yeah,
we know
man.
he's that prototypical heavyweight that they're looking for. So I'm sure we'll see him back real soon. In the middle, Alan, the Kryptonian, definitely playing up to that, that nickname that he's been doing. I'm all the way up. He's moving up 2 spots into that number 5, embracing that opportunity. A lot of people forget that was short notice too. With Colton Cole, very, very short notice. So, I think we're going to see him rewarded, and he should be able to fight up in the ranks, I think, very, very soon here.
Yeah, man. He sat for a minute, but he came back and proved that he's still built for this.
Yeah, yeah. Do me a favor and check real quick, if you don't mind, what Chris Debo's record is. But Chris Debo, number 8, doesn't sit right with me. It's been too long since I've had a match power slap. Holler at me. So we see Chris Debo at number 8 in these ranks. Kind of. Go ahead, my man.
Yeah. As of today on the website, he's listed as 1-1-0.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And I know he's been dying for a match. We've seen him at every power slap that we've been to. Like he's trying. He's really trying. So hopefully this is a sign to really get in the lab, bro, and start working. Like put in the work that you need to, start training and make it happen. Prove it to them that number 8's wrong.
Yeah. So definitely interesting to see, my man. All right, let's keep on rolling, dude.
Big dog, crazy Hawaiian. He's proud of the boys, man. Like we see that we've seen from the beginning the super heavyweight rankings. There's a lot of Hawaiians that are built for this sport in that weight class. So him just showing love, man. Island love. I think they're out there right now too.
Are they? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that's pretty dope.
Awesome. Keep on going, dude.
All right, buddy. We got Andrew Fields. We haven't seen much of him for a bit, but he's another one that's hungry for a match. Where they got him number 10 on the welterweight, so he still is ranked. And what has he got to say? Give me a fight, bruh. Half the dudes above me are ass or don't have any chin. Definitely shouldn't be number 1. And man, he's onto something. The way to prove that he shouldn't be number 1 is to get him a match. So hopefully Power Slap hears him. And we got to hear from Brandon, and still champion. Ain't shit changed. That's hey man, I guess you got to have that mentality. Hey Corey, going into this, doesn't matter where you're ranked. If you're not moving like a champion, you're not moving.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you, dude. All right, man. We got one more slide here. Let's bring it on home.
All right.
Well, I guess the second one from Debo, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this one rightfully so. They did spell his name wrong. Hopefully, Chris, give him a knockout and let them know that it's Chris Topher, not Chris Tuffer.
Yeah, we'll blame KO Chris Thomas on that one.
Yeah. He made it too iconic.
Yeah. And then the guy that keeps on giving, my man, Amir Nuruddin, always outspoken.
Yo, so there was one thing I noticed this morning, and you guys can look because Chris Debo's reshare has them all there, but I think this might be the first time in Power Slap where Amir's not actually ranked. And like I said with Chris Debo, Chris Debo being mad that he's number 8, hopefully this lights a fire under Amir, man, and he's got to put in that work now and prove to the people that he deserves that ranking if this is how he feels.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And then KO Chris letting us know what he thinks of Jules Scott sitting out and earning his ranking, going up.
Hey, don't forget he added he is soft at the bottom. Yeah. In KO Chris fashion. That's awesome.
Yeah, KO
but yeah,
Chris.
he made a point that we made. It's interesting that you can sit and go up, right? So that.
Yeah, I hear you, my man. All right, buddy. I think
you're
good rank.
You're trucking along, bro. We're almost there.
We're getting through it, buddy. We're getting through it.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? I think it was definitely great to see the rankings come out. June, I believe 28th. It's going to come fast, man. We're going to keep on rolling. I know we've got a ton of great content in the bank. We've got some follow-up interviews that we shot in Vegas. We've got a couple origins coming. A lot of stuff working behind the scenes. And we're going to definitely make sure that we you know, keep on bridging that gap between shows to have content through and through. And we'll go from there, dude. But I appreciate you, my man. Let's sign off.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. And we'll keep on rocking, dude.
Take care, y'all.